Have you ever noticed how clearly you can imagine a better version of your life, and yet how distant it feels from your daily actions? You have ideas, you have plans. You have intentions that feel real when you think about them. You can see yourself healthier, more focused, more confident. You imagine writing something meaningful, learning a skill, changing your habits, improving your situation. You know what you want, and still nothing happens. Days pass, weeks pass, sometimes months. You tell yourself you'll start tomorrow, or next week, or when things calm down. But tomorrow arrives and the same pattern repeats. You wake up with a vague sense of guilt, open your phone, distract yourself, and push the idea away one more time. At some point, a label appears in your mind. I'm lazy. It feels simple. It feels honest. It feels final. You start to believe that something is wrong with you, that other people have discipline, motivation, drive, and you don't, that they can act and you can only think, that you want too much and do too little. But the truth is more uncomfortable than that. Because if laziness were the real problem, you would be too lazy to even care about it. But you care. You care enough to think about it late at night. You care enough to feel frustrated with yourself. You care enough to imagine change, even if you don't act on it. So why do you stay stuck? Why does starting feel so heavy even when the desire is real? What if you're not lazy at all? What if you're avoiding starting because your brain has learned to associate change with discomfort, pressure, and failure? What if the problem isn't lack of motivation, but the way you approach effort, progress, and responsibility? This is not the solution yet. It's a different path. And to walk it, you need to understand what's actually happening when you don't start. Let's begin with something simple and uncomfortable. Your brain is not designed to make you successful. It is designed to keep you safe. Safety, to the brain, does not mean growth. It means familiarity. It means comfort. It means predictability. When you think about starting something new, exercising, writing, changing habits, learning a skill, your brain does not see a future reward. It sees uncertainty. Uncertainty means effort. Effort means discomfort. Discomfort means risk. So the brain does what it's very good at doing. It redirects you. It offers alternatives that feel easier, faster, and safer. Scroll for a few minutes. Watch something familiar. Check messages. Do it later. This is not a flaw. It's a mechanism. The problem begins when you interpret that mechanism as a personal failure. You don't say, my brain is avoiding discomfort. You say, I'm lazy. And once you adopt that identity, everything becomes heavier. Because now you're not just avoiding a task, you're confirming a belief about yourself. Let's look at how this plays out in everyday life. You want to write something, maybe a book, maybe an article, maybe just your thoughts. You imagine the final result, pages filled, ideas complete, something meaningful created. That image feels big, heavy, almost intimidating. Your brain immediately jumps to the full scale of the task, not one sentence, not one paragraph, but the entire mountain. And mountains are exhausting to imagine climbing, so you don't start, not because you're lazy, but because the task feels emotionally oversized. The same happens with physical health. You don't think, I'll move my body today. You think, I need to change my lifestyle. You picture strict routines, intense workouts, perfect consistency. That image creates pressure. Pressure creates resistance. Resistance leads to avoidance. So, you stay where you are. Then comes money. You want to save, you want stability, you want control. But instead of thinking in small adjustments, your mind jumps to sacrifice, restriction, and loss. Cutting everything, giving things up, feeling deprived. Again, the brain resists, and you interpret resistance as laziness. But laziness is not the cause. Avoidance is, and avoidance is learned. From school, from work, from environments where effort was linked to judgment, where mistakes felt costly, where failing meant shame. Over time, your brain learns something very specific. If I don't start, I can't fail. This is the part most people don't want to admit. Not starting protects your identity. As long as you don't act, your potential remains intact, untested, imaginary, perfect. The moment you start, reality enters the picture. And reality is messy. You might struggle, you might feel slow, you might not be good at first. And that feels threatening. So your brain delays. Not because it doesn't want growth, but because it wants control. Now here's where responsibility enters the conversation. Understanding this mechanism is not an excuse to stay stuck. It's an explanation. And explanations give you leverage. Because once you see what's happening, you can choose differently. But only if you stop waiting for motivation. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. It responds to emotion, not logic. If you build your life around waiting to feel ready, you will stay exactly where you are. Responsibility is not about blame. Responsibility is about ownership. No one is coming to regulate your habits for you. No one is coming to force clarity into your mind. No one is coming to start your life on your behalf. That's not a threat. It's reality. And reality is empowering if you accept it. Now let's talk about why big intentions often collapse into small distractions. When a task feels vague, your brain fills in the gaps with worst-case scenarios. How long will this take? What if I'm bad at it? What if I don't finish? What if I waste time? Unanswered questions increase mental friction, and friction leads to avoidance. So people escape into activities that provide instant feedback. A notification, a video, a message. These things give your brain a sense of completion without effort, but they also train your brain to expect stimulation without commitment. Over time, deep effort feels foreign, heavy, unnatural. This is not a moral failing, it's conditioning, and conditioning can be changed, but not through self-criticism. Criticism drains energy. Clarity creates movement. So let's introduce structure. Not discipline as punishment, not motivation as emotion, but structure as support. This is where the path begins to take shape. The solution is not to become a different person. It is to work with how your brain actually functions. And it comes down to 3 principles, no more. 1. Reduce the size of the starting point. Your brain resists scale, not effort. Large tasks feel threatening. Small tasks feel manageable. So stop framing goals as outcomes. Frame them as entries. Not write a book, but open the document. Not get fit, but put on the shoes. Not change my life, but do one small thing today. This is not about lowering ambition, it's about lowering friction. Small actions bypass resistance. They create momentum without pressure. And momentum is more reliable than motivation. Every time you start small and finish, your brain learns something new. Starting doesn't hurt. That lesson matters more than intensity. 2. Replace willpower with structure. Willpower is emotional. Structure is mechanical. If you rely on feeling like doing something, you will fail. Not because you're weak, but because emotions fluctuate. Structure removes decision-making. Shoes by the bed, notebook on the desk, guitar within reach. These are not tricks. They are signals. They tell your brain, this is normal, this is expected. When effort becomes part of the environment, resistance decreases. You don't negotiate with structure, you move within it. And over time, actions become automatic. Not easy, but familiar. 3. Commit to starting, not continuing. The hardest part of any change is not persistence, it's initiation. So stop asking yourself to finish. Ask yourself to begin. Commit to 2 minutes. 2 minutes of writing, 2 minutes of movement, 2 minutes of focus. This works because it reframes the task. You're no longer committing to discomfort. You're committing to a short, defined action. And once you start, something interesting happens. Resistance fades. Not always completely, but enough. Most people don't fail because they stop. They fail because they never start. Starting is the skill. Everything else builds from it. You don't need to become disciplined overnight. You don't need to feel inspired. You don't need to wait for confidence. You need to accept one simple truth. Your life moves in the direction of what you repeatedly start, not what you repeatedly think about. Responsibility does not mean harshness, it means honesty. You are not broken, you are not lazy, you are avoiding discomfort, like every human brain does. The difference is what you choose to do with that knowledge. Small starts change identity. Repeated starts change direction. And direction, over time, changes everything. So, remember this. Make the starting point small. Replace willpower with structure. And commit to starting, not finishing. In the video I leave here for you, we explore the right moment to start a new project. If this resonated with you, follow, like, and keep going. Your next step is already waiting.